Hey Kipsters! I'm so excited to read this book with you. I know we've been talking lots about the early American West, and we've learned lots about Native Americans, especially the Native Americans in the Great Plains. And today we're going to read a new story about a girl who's a pioneer. She's one of the European settlers that came onto the American lands after the Native Americans were already here. This book is written like a diary, so each entry you'll see in the corner, there will be a date that this girl is writing in her diary. It says March 23rd, 1845. Dear Diary, my name is Olivia Clark, and I've lived in Elk Grove, Missouri my whole life. But that's about to change. Pa heard that many farming families are moving west to Oregon Territory. They're looking for free, open land and a new start. Since times are tough and our little plot of land can't produce many crops, we're leaving too. Pa told us at supper. I can't sleep. So here's a new diary entry on April 4th, 1845. We've been selling our furniture and anything else that won't fit in our wagon. Ma has filled large barrels with food and packed our clothing, tools, china, and bedding into a trunk. I've packed my doll, Joanna, but we'll leave her bed behind. Pa said that he would build Joanna another bed when he makes our new furniture. He has bought oxen to pull the wagon. And up here we have what's called a text box that gives us a little bit more information about what we're reading. It says traveling light. Food took up most of the room in the small space inside the wagon. Many personal items had to be left behind. So here's a photograph of the actual inside of a wagon. April 10th, 1845. Today we said our last goodbyes. Grandma hugged me so tight I almost stopped breathing. Ma cried when friends gave her a friendship quilt. Pa had tears in his eyes too. I wondered why everyone was so sad. Ma told me later that we might not see many of these people ever again. I didn't want to believe her, but Ma never lies. So here in this text box, it'll tell us about friendship in a quilt. Friendship quilts were a popular parting gift. Friends sewed their names onto the quilt's colorful squares. May 4th, 1845. Today we reached our jumping off point, Independence, Missouri. We bought last-minute wagon supplies here and met up with others heading west. We have here a picture of what was happening and a caption. It says, wagons gathering in Independence, Missouri. Then Olivia continues here. She says, we've split up into groups of wagons called trains. Each train includes men with important skills such as doctors, blacksmiths, and builders. In our train, there's also a girl named Lizzie. She could be my new best friend. And we have this text box up here. It says first traffic jams. With hundreds of wagons heading west at one time, slower moving wagons caused long stretches of traffic. May 13th, 1845. We've settled into a daily routine now. We wake as the sun rises. Ma makes breakfast, Pa hitches up the oxen, we pack up our things, and away we go. Most of the day, we walk behind the wagon. Sometimes we pick wildflowers. We travel up to 15 miles, or 24 kilometers, until night falls, or we fall over. This text box tells us about Independence Rock. To avoid traveling in the winter, families hope to get to Independence Rock, Wyoming by the 4th of July. And there it is in the illustration. June 11th, 1845. We make camp when we find a spot with enough grass and water for the oxen. Pa unhitches the oxen and lets them rest. I collect dead sagebrush and dried buffalo dung for the fire and help put up our tent. Ma makes dinner. Tonight we used a tablecloth and candles since it was Pa's birthday. For a minute, it felt a little like home. And down here in this text box, it says forming a corral. Every night the travelers put their wagons in a circle to keep their animals in and wild animals out. July 7th, 1845. I try to be brave when we cross rivers, but it can be cold, wet, and scary. When the rivers are low, we just walk across. When the rivers are high, we wait until they are lower. And then the oxen pull the wagons across. As we cross, we watch the fast-moving river currents. Yesterday, one man drowned, and 2 wagons tipped over. The families lost everything. We have here a caption next to the picture. It says, wagons were sealed with tar or pitch to prevent leaks. July 28th, 1845. I have seen Indians from far away a few times, but today I saw my first Indian up close. He was tall, thin, and had dark hair and skin. He wore leather and feathers. He offered us buffalo meat. Ma gave him some blankets in return. Pa traded some nails and beads for some moccasins. Indians aren't as scary as I thought they would be. Buffalo stampede. Travelers had more to fear from buffalo than from Indians. A stampede could trample them to death. August 3rd, 1845. Meals on the trail are different than they were back home. Most days we eat cornmeal, beans, or rice served with bacon or dried beef. On windy or rainy days, we can't start fires, so everyone has cold meals. And here in the pictures, we have some labels. We have coarse cornmeal, we have dried beef, we have rice, and cornmeal porridge. Down here we have some elderberries and blackberries. And Olivia continues, if Pa goes hunting, he might bring back an antelope or catch a rabbit or a bird for us to eat. When we find berries, Ma uses them to make fresh baked pies. August 9th, 1845. After endless prairies, we have finally reached the mountains. But climbing the steep sides is hard work. To go up, we have to lighten our load, which means dumping Ma's stove and trunk. To get down, we tie rope to a tree and then the back of the wagon. Then we slowly let out the rope. The Rocky Mountains are too steep. Luckily, we used a flat, wide path through them called South Pass. Oregon Territory is close. In this text box, it tells us a little bit more about South Pass. South Pass was a 12-mile, 19-kilometer wide trail through the otherwise impassable Rocky Mountains. August 18th, 1845. On the trail, we have seen births, celebrated holidays, and marked many special events. We have seen tragedy too. Some people have become very ill and died. Others have been struck by lightning, shot while hunting, drowned in river crossings, and killed by wagons and buffalo. The trail is filled with goodbyes. Today, Lizzie and her family set off on another path to a different part of Oregon Territory. I will miss her. Here's another text box. It says, seeing the elephant. Pioneers would say, I've seen the elephant when they met illness and death along the trail. September 28th, 1845. After 2,000 miles, or 3,200 kilometers, and 5 months of traveling, we've arrived in Willamette Valley, Oregon Territory. After a few days' rest, we picked the plot of land where we'll live and farm. Once we've built our house, we'll have a big celebration with eating and dancing. We'll celebrate the end of our long journey and the beginning of our new life in Oregon Territory, our new home. And then in this text box, it tells us about pioneer diaries. Historians believe that 1 in every 250 pioneers kept diaries or journals along the trail, recording their risky journey. Then on this last page, it tells us a little bit about pioneer facts. In 1805, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark were the first explorers from the United States to reach Oregon Territory. Other explorers, fur trappers, church people, and settlers followed afterwards, finding better routes from the east to the west coast of America. About 200,000 pioneers traveled west along the Oregon Trail. At first, people used maps and guides to find their way. Later on, they just followed the well-worn ruts from the earlier pioneers' wagon wheels. And down here it tells us pioneers were called emigrants. This was because the Oregon Territory was not yet part of the United States. An emigrant is someone who leaves one country and settles in another. Oregon Territory was later divided into the states Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and small parts of Wyoming and Montana, as well as of British Columbia, Canada. Pioneers had fast food too. Many pioneers' favorite food was the Johnny cake, which was like a fluffy pancake. Pioneers could fold them and put them in their pockets until they were ready to eat them. Now that's the end of Journey of a Pioneer. I hope you all enjoyed this story as much as I enjoyed reading it.